was the restless spirit who transformed teenage angst into a national obsession. With only 3 major films, James Dean captured the fragile hopes of postwar America and then disappeared in a flash of twisted metal on a lonely highway. So, how did a shy farm boy turn into the ultimate rebel icon? And why does his legend still ignite a generation that never knew him? Brace yourself for the brief, dazzling life of James Dean. James Byron Dean was born on February 8, 1931, in Marion, Indiana. His father, Winton, was a dental technician who had dreams of prosperity in California. His mother, Mildred, was a creative force who encouraged her boy's artistic spark. In those early years, Jimmy was Mildred's shadow. She introduced him to dance, music, and theater, enrolling him in small recitals wherever she could. Then tragedy struck. When James was just 9, Mildred passed away from cancer. Years later, he confessed that her death shattered something in him that could never fully mend. He once said, "My mother was the only person who ever understood me." That lingering void would drive him relentlessly toward connection and acceptance, 2 things that often seemed just out of reach. After Mildred's passing, Winton sent James back to Indiana to live on a farm with his aunt and uncle. He found a quieter life there: fields, chores, and Sunday church. But the stage beckoned. As a teenager at Fairmont High School, Dean dove into sports like basketball and track, but soon gravitated to the school's drama club. He thrilled at the applause, craving the sense of importance that performance gave him. One classmate recalled, "Jimmy always took risks, on the court, on the stage, anywhere." Even as a teen, he wrestled with the tension between small-town normalcy and an almost painful need to stand out. By 1950, Dean had graduated and set his sights on Los Angeles. He briefly attended Santa Monica College for pre-law, his father's desire, but that path felt like a prison sentence. Acting was the only thing that made him come alive. In defiance of his father's hopes, he transferred to UCLA to major in drama. Almost immediately, friction escalated between them. Winton considered the stage a pipe dream, worried about Jimmy's lack of practicality. Dean, in turn, bristled at any lecture about real jobs and financial security. Determined to prove he needed nobody's approval, he dropped out of UCLA, determined to make it on raw talent and grit. At first, Hollywood shut the door. Casting directors found him too short, too intense, too odd. His ears stuck out, his hair was unruly. Yet Dean refused to conform. He started booking tiny TV roles, bit parts on shows like Family Theater or commercials where you'd blink and miss him. Realizing he needed deeper training, he moved to New York in 1951, diving headfirst into the method style at the Actors Studio under Lee Strasberg. Strasberg's technique demanded emotional authenticity and self-examination, a perfect match for Dean's brooding temperament. He devoured the craft, analyzing each line until it felt like an extension of his own psyche. A fellow student recalled, "He acted like the stage was life support, that if he couldn't act, he'd suffocate." Fortune struck in 1954 when director Elia Kazan, already revered for shaping Marlon Brando's ferocity, spotted Dean's raw intensity. Kazan was casting for East of Eden, John Steinbeck's novel about complicated family ties and a boy desperate for his father's love. It was the perfect role for James Dean, who understood paternal distance all too well. The studio, Warner Bros., agreed hesitantly, uncertain about this unknown. The budget hovered around $1.8 million, a mid-range figure for a prestige drama. During filming, Dean confronted Kazan over every nuance of the script. He insisted on improvising body language, tapping into his real-life scars. In one scene, playing Cal Trask, he tries to hug his father, only to be rebuffed, an eerily close parallel to Dean's own experience with Winton. Witnesses on set said you could see heartbreak ripple across his face, unscripted and raw. East of Eden premiered in 1955, earning critical acclaim and box office success. Approximately $5 million domestic, a strong showing then. Dean's portrayal of a tormented son ignited Hollywood. Critics praised his vulnerability, his unpredictable edge. He received an Academy Award nomination, the first posthumous nod in Oscar history that would come tragically after his death. Yet, success emboldened him. Dean had no intention of becoming a cookie-cutter leading man. He wanted roles that spoke to disillusionment, confusion, and youth on the verge of explosion. Next came Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. A high-stakes gamble for Warner Bros. Director Nicholas Ray pitched it as a teenage drama, grappling with suburban angst, the moral panic of a generation adrift in the booming post-war era. The budget sat near $1.5 million, and the studio execs worried it might flop. But Ray insisted that Dean's seething energy was the key. As Jim Stark, Dean embodied every kid who felt misunderstood at home or overwhelmed by social expectations. During one rehearsal, he reportedly argued with Ray about how a scene should play out, saying, "Teenagers don't talk like that," and insisted on rewriting lines himself. The tension on set was thick. Natalie Wood, playing Judy, and Sal Mineo, playing Plato, recalled Dean's unpredictability. He might be friendly at lunch, then furious by afternoon if he felt the scene needed more realism. Released in October 1955, Rebel Without a Cause became an instant cultural phenomenon, raking in over $4.5 million. Dean's red jacket and anguished cry, "You're tearing me apart," captured the universal teenage cry for understanding. Fans across America started imitating his slouch, his mumbling speech, his hair. He wasn't just an actor anymore. He was a youth icon, a template for what it meant to be disaffected yet tender. Magazines touted him as the next Brando, but success weighed on him. He confided to a friend that he hated being a teenage fantasy. "I'm just me. If they want a symbol, they can paint one." By now, Hollywood is drooling at the box office potential. Dean began filming George Stevens' Giant, 1956, starring Rock Hudson and Elizabeth Taylor. The film, which tackled themes of wealth, power, and Texas oil, had a sprawling budget of around $5.4 million. Dean played Jet Rink, a dirt-poor ranch hand who wrestles with envy and ambition, a role that let him slip between arrogance and sensitivity. On set, tensions arose with Rock Hudson, who found Dean's method acting cumbersome. Hudson was old school, believing you hit your mark and read your lines. Dean wanted to improvise, break from the script. Elizabeth Taylor often mediated, praising Dean's dedication while soothing Hudson's frustrations. Producer Jack Warner bemoaned the cost overruns caused by Dean's repeated demands for retakes. As filming wrapped in late summer 1955, Dean found a new obsession: racing. He'd bought a Porsche 356 Speedster earlier that year and started competing in amateur events. Studio executives panicked, fearing their hot new star might crash and burn, literally. They banned him from racing during production. The moment Giant finished shooting, though, Dean purchased a Porsche 550 Spider, nicknamed Little Bastard, ignoring every warning from mentors, co-stars, and even his agent. He seemed unable to resist the lure of danger, as though living on the edge was the only way to feel truly alive. On September 30th, 1955, Dean planned to drive to a race in Salinas, California, with his mechanic Rolf Wutherich. Initially, they intended to tow the Porsche, but Dean changed his mind at the last minute, deciding to break in the car's engine on the open road. At around 5:45 p.m. near Chalomey, California, a Ford Tudor driven by a college student turned left across Dean's path. The collision was brutal. Dean's neck was broken, and he was pronounced dead on arrival at the nearby hospital. He was 24. News of the crash blazed through the media like wildfire. Fans who'd just seen him on screen as the restless, misunderstood Jim Stark were confronted with the cruel reality that the rebel was gone permanently. Warner Bros. Scrambled. Rebel Without a Cause had yet to open wide, and Giant was still in post-production. Suddenly, Dean was a legend in absentia. The press funeral had fans weeping in the streets of his hometown Fairmount. Giant premiered in late 1956, bolstered by the marketing angle of Dean's final performance. It grossed over $35 million worldwide, earning 10 Oscar nominations, including another posthumous Best Actor nod for Dean. He remains the only actor in history to receive 2 posthumous Academy Award nominations, though he won neither time. So, Why do people still talk about James Dean decades after that fateful crash? Because he embodied something both elusive and universal, the yearning for identity in a world that demands conformity. His conflicts, longing for paternal approval, chafing under Hollywood's polished veneer, rebelling against staid traditions, are the same tensions young people have felt across generations. He was flawed, impulsive, and haunted by personal demons, yet possessed a magnetism that shimmered on screen like raw electricity. He left behind only three major films, but those roles, Cal, Jim, and Jet, form a holy trinity of adolescent discontent that resonates today. His approach to acting, internalizing pain, wearing vulnerability like armor, helped shift Hollywood away from the stagey melodrama toward nuanced authenticity. When he mumbled his lines or slouched in a diner booth, it wasn't laziness. It was a deliberate, emotionally driven method for revealing character. This style paved the way for Brando, Clift, and others, but Dean's early death gave his legacy an almost mystical quality. He never grew old or had a late career slump, never compromised the raw brand of rebellion he personified. Despite the decades, he remains the poster child for misunderstood youth, an archetype that every subsequent teen idol either embraces or avoids. Punk rockers cite him as an influence for his defiance. Fashion designers invoke his jeans and t-shirt aesthetic as timeless cool. Perhaps the simplest explanation for his enduring hold is a quote often attributed to him, though its exact origin is debated. Dream as if you'll live forever. Live as if you'll die today. He might not have penned that line verbatim, but it reflects the fierce immediacy with which he lived and died. In the end, James Dean's story reverberates because it's the ultimate cautionary tale and romantic dream rolled into one. He chased his passions, defied his father's expectations, battled studios over creative authenticity, and soared to fame almost overnight. Then, in a flash of twisted steel on a California highway, it was over, sealing him in an immortal present tense. We never saw him age or fade into irrelevance. That locked-in-time image, a slender young man with distant eyes perched on the edge of manhood, remains frozen in our collective imagination. "I don't want to be just another face in the crowd," he once said. Mission accomplished. James Dean became a symbol for every restless soul who refuses to settle for an ordinary life. His short, intense, conflict-laden journey reminds us that true legends burn brightly and vanish fast, leaving us forever wondering what more they could have done, if only they'd had just a little more time. If this story resonated with you, feel free to check out the channel. There you'll find more stories where I talk about the challenging life journeys of celebrities.